Okay, so today we are solving quadratic equations by factoring. Ariana, sit down. So the zero product property states that for all real numbers a and b, if I multiply them together and it equals 0, then either a equals 0 or b equals 0. So a wants me to find the solution to x minus 9 times 5x plus 2 equals 0. So the way I do this is I want to set each factor to equal to 0 and solve using the zero product property. So I'm going to have two equations. I'm going to have x minus 9 equals 0 and 5x plus 2 equals 0. So for my first equation, what do I want to do? How do I get x alone? Add 9 to both sides. So I get x equals 9. And then what do I want to do for my second equation? What's my first? Yeah, subtract 2 on both sides. So I get 5x equals negative 2. Is x all alone? So divide both sides by 5. Does 5 divide 2 or negative 2 nicely? Nope, so I'm just going to leave it as the fraction. Okay, so then my next step is to check each solution to make sure it works. So I'm going to plug in my answers into my original equation to see if I get 0. Okay, what's 9 minus 9? So I have 0, and then what's 5 times 9? 45. Okay, so 0 times 45 plus 2, what's that going to equal? 0. So that one works. Then I want to go ahead and do the same thing with my other x value. When I plug them in, I'm plugging in the same x value into both spots. Okay, so on this one, I'm actually going to leave my first set of parentheses alone. I'm just going to leave it the negative 2/5 minus 9. What's 5 times negative 2/5? 5 times negative 2/5. So here my 5's will cancel out, and I'm left with negative 2. Guys, stop talking. Okay, I'm still going to leave the first fraction, or the first set of parentheses alone because of the fraction. What's negative 2 plus 2? 0. Yep, so anything times 0 is 0, so this one works. So what are my two answers here? So sometimes I'm not given it in factored form. I am going to have to put it into factored form myself. So B is asking how I can use factoring to solve x squared plus 9x equals negative 20. So first thing I want to do is I want to remember standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. So all of my terms are on one side of the equation, and then it equals 0. Also, my leading term can't be 0 because then it's not a quadratic. So my first step is to write the equation in standard form. So how am I going to write this equation in standard form? Yep. So that's going to give me x squared plus 9x plus 20 equals 0. Then I want to turn it into factored form because that's what we've been using today. So what multiplies to 20 and adds to 9? So I'm going to write it as x plus 4 times x plus 5 equals 0. Then I'm going to use my zero product property to solve. So my zero product property, guys, stop flipping your paper over, we haven't finished. My zero product property means I take those pieces inside the parentheses and I set those equal to 0. So on the first one, what do I want to do? And then on okay, so last problem I need to solve is the word problem. It says a museum vault has an outer steel wall with a uniform width of x. The area of the museum vault ceiling and outer steel wall is 1,664 feet squared. What is the width of the outer steel wall? So it's kind of hard to see, but this is telling me this is x, and the length inside is 40, and the length or the width is 20. So in order to make the entire width, it's going to be 20 plus 2x, because I have two steel walls. I have one on each side. And then my other one is going to be 40 plus 2x. So same thing for my length. I have two steel walls on each end. And then I know when I multiply these two values together, it's going to give me 1,664. Just in case we forgot, it's length times width equals area. So the first thing I want to do when I have the word problem is I want to turn it into standard form. So I'm going to have to use the distributive property to write the equation in standard form. I can either FOIL, distribute, or I can use the box method. Which method do you want me to use here? Box? Okay. I'm going to do it off to the side over here. So remember, I write each of my terms in a row or column. So this is my first expression, and this is my second expression. And then in each box, I multiply the row and column together. So 40 times 20 is 800. I'm multiplying. 40 times 2x. 2x times 20. And 2x times 2x. 4x squared. Okay, so then I want to go ahead and write this in standard form. So that means my x squared term goes first. I only have one of those, so I'm going to start off with 4x squared. Then I want to write my x terms. So what's 40 plus 80? And then I want to write my number alone, so plus 800. But this equation still equals 1,664. So what do I still need to do in order for it to be in standard form? Where did I say standard form was on the front? Not yet. We'll do that in a bit, but not yet. Before I can do that, what do I need to have this equation do? Equals 0. So I want to subtract the 1,664 on both sides. So what's 800 minus 1,664? Yep. Okay. So, do I want to, I do want to factor, but do I like the way this looks right now? Should I factor with these large numbers? Do the x thing? What should I do first? What do all of these numbers have? Yeah, I want to factor out my GCF, so what do all of these numbers have in common? Yeah. So when I go ahead and divide by 4, I want to divide everything by 4, including that 0. That way I can completely get rid of my 4. Because I've done it to both sides of the equation. So my first term turns into x squared. My second term turns into 30x. And then my last term, $126? Okay. And then 0 divided by 4 is 0. Okay, so now I want to set up my x. So I'm looking for what multiplies to negative 216 and adds to 30. I do not know these factors off the top of my head. So remember what I can do is on my calculator, I can press y equals, and then I can type in the top number, so negative 216, and I divide by x because I don't know my factors. So I'm going to use x as a placeholder. Then I'm going to go second graph to see my table of values. So what I want to do is I want to add my whole numbers together to see if I can get 30. Does 1 minus 216 give me 30? 2 minus 108? 3 minus 72? 4 minus 54? No, that gives me negative 50. I'm looking for 30. Six and negative 36. So then I'm going to split this up. It's going to be x plus 6 times x minus 36. But, oh, you're right. You're right, my bad. Yeah, I want it to add up to positive 30, not negative 30. Why did I write up the negative? Yeah, so I want to start off by setting both of these equal to 0. Okay, so my solutions are positive 6 and negative 36. Remember, we're talking about the thickness of a wall. Does it make sense for a wall to be negative? No, so the length of a wall cannot be negative. Therefore, negative 36 cannot be a solution. So my answer has to be just the 6